Sacred geometry. The calculation of phi can be found in the DNA molecule. The golden ratio, golden spiral, or Fibonacci sequence is in the DNA molecule and in the design of the ancient temples. There is sacred geometry all around us. Sometimes we can see these patterns, and most of the times we can't. It is even in our alphabet and emotions. In the Armenian legends, there are many references to sacred geometry. The Armenian name Utnapishtim means worship of eight. This is the first shape that comes out of the flower of life. It is in the DNA molecule. It was believed that the DNA molecule was infinite spiral. However, recent research shows that the DNA molecule wraps back on itself like a number 8. It is a toroidal field. There is sacred geometry in the DNA spiral. The DNA molecule is a helical antenna. This is an antenna that transmits and receives electromagnetic wave. These antennas are commonly used at Earth-based stations and satellite communication systems. The electromagnetic wave that are emitted from these antennas can be exactly the same shape as a DNA spiral. DNA is a nucleic acid that contains the genetic instructions used in the development and functioning of all known living organisms. The main role of the DNA molecules is the long-term storage of information. A molecule is defined as an electrical group of at least 2 atoms in a definite arrangement, held together by very strong chemical bonds. DNA molecules on electric charge transport through standing DNA. DNA segments carry genetic information and are called genes. Genetic transmission is the transfer of genetic information from genes to another generation, from parent to offspring, from one location in a cell to another. Our body has many hidden communication systems. After a great deal of far-reaching research, other scientists have come to the conclusion, at variance with many orthodox scientific ideas, communication does not take place principally in the visible Newtonian world, but in the subatomic world. Cells and DNA communicate by means of vibratory frequencies. The brain perceives the world and registers it by means of wave pulses. Underlying the universe is substructure, which is essentially a recording medium for everything, allowing everything to communicate with everything else. People are inseparably connected with their environment and contribute to the coherence, order in the rest of the world. Human consciousness has incredible powers. For example, it can cure itself and to some extent mold the world. Everything in creation, both animate and inanimate, is made up of moving energy. At the atomic and subatomic level, there is movement of energy. Where there is movement of energy, there is vibration, and vice versa. Vibration can be described as periodic or cyclical motion between two extremes around a midpoint. A guitar string, for example, when the string is plucked, it moves in a cycle between two extremes around a midpoint, causing a sound wave to be produced at a particular note or frequency. The knowledge of Sacred geometry to the ancients was key to their survival and was believed to be the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. Almost literally, geometry meant contact with the gods. It was considered a way of imitating the structure where the sun, probably the first god, and the moon, probably the second god, governed the natural order. Early man believed if he could map the universe, he would be able to predict the whims of gods, who sent punishing droughts, floods, and pestilence on the lands around him. The knowledge of geometry was considered magic. It was kept in the realms of religion. The knowledge was sacred and was given only to a select few. With sacred geometry, you could understand the universe and understand how astronomy worked. Geometry was a symbolic system. About sacred geometry. In sacred geometry, numbers are combined with shapes to create a harmonious whole. The idea was to reuse the ancient temple Garni in Armenia, embodied much of the sacred numerology and geometry devised by ancestral Armenians 4,200 years earlier. The columns are built in a ratio of 1/3, 1 being the primary number of the universe, 3 being the holiest of all numbers, representing the triad, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. The angles and measures used in designing the temple can be seen as both aesthetically beautiful and as reaffirmation of the universal laws that govern man's destiny. Angles, number of columns, dimensions, these were all created with a careful eye to appeasing the gods and protecting the human from wrath. In fact, the structure itself is a representation of the cosmos, with a raised platform of 9 steps leading to the main entrance. 9 is the 3 times the holy triad. 24 columns representing the clouds or vapor, and ceiling dome for the heavens. And sophisticated use of the equilateral triangles, squares, pentagons, and hexagons in its design. The columns are arranged with 6 in front and 6 back, considered perfect number, and 8 on the sides, the first number after 7, the symbol of life. This picture shows the front of the temple with geometric patterns. A circle is made beginning at the first step and going up to the cornice. Notice how the circle is dissected by imaginary lines drawn from key points in the building. 2 perfect equilateral triangles are formed, which draw your attention to another 3 equilateral triangles inside, which again draw your attention to another set of triangles. 6 triangles having 3 sides, 6 times 3 or 18. Each set of the 3 triangles has a combined 9 sides. 9 is 3 times 3, or the holiest number doubled. The priests and faithful would ascend 9 steps, again the holiest number doubled, which also represented the 7 known planets plus man on earth, God above. Each set of 3 triangles is mirrored by another set, one pointing from heaven down, the other from earth up, where they came together in perfect square like a diamond. The inner sanctum where the deity lay, the diamond square happens to form the exact dimension of inner walls. The mirrored triangles are also the point where man and God may meet, the powers above giving enlightenment to earth below. We have number 18, which is not a sacred number. However, when the numbers 1 plus 8 are added up, you get 9. 9 is a heavenly number. 9 steps, 9 sides to each set of triangles, or 18 sides to the triangles, also 9. In the number 18, there is 1, the elemental unifying number, and 1 and 8, the 8 cardinal directions combined with square. The 18 sides of the triangle and 4 sides of the square equal 22. Or in sacred numerology, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 corners of the world, the 4 seasons, both time and space. This temple was the holiest of holy and a symbol of deities controlling all earthly matters to represent everlasting time. This temple, all that is, was, ever will be. The circle and triangles draw your attention, even unconsciously, to the inner sanctum, exactly to the point where statue of Mithra and the goddess stood. In this image, the inner sanctum has imaginary lines showing a perfect circle. 1 equals unifying whole with a group of 6, 3 plus 3, the perfect number. Circle placed, the lower 4 fill the space where the statue and eternal fire were placed. Dissecting the lower circle with angles again creates 3 sets of perfect triangles, reinforcing the number 9 from the outer temple design. And again, the triangles meet at the point where goddess stood, most probably on her face. The number 8 and 5 are repeated in the dimensions of the lines of measurement. 8 is the symbol of life, the day of resurrection, the day after God rested, and the symbolic day when Earth's history really began. 5 is a misfortune number in some cultures, but with Greeks and early Armenians, it was also the sign of pentagram, the sign for making things. 5 fingers. Note that the side of the sanctuary, 5 is always the length of horizontal lines, while 8 is always the length of vertical lines. Cosmically, this would mean that the resurrection and new life, which came from above and below, some gods lived under the world, met the horizontal human world, unable to enter the realm of God without their help. Sacred geometric principles are evident throughout the entire temple. Count lines, distances, add them, and you will always end up with sacred numbers. This to us may seem superstition, but to the people who created this temple, it was the perfect embodiment of their communication with the universe. It should be remembered also that this continuous system of sacred geometry was only used in sacred buildings. Secular buildings might imitate the system in some way, but they never equaled the staggering formulas and calculations to be found in sacred buildings. The principle of sacred geometry can also be seen in Ichmiazin and early churches. Thank you.